in the race for the White House. CNN's exclusive interview of the Democratic nominees starts. Hey y'all, I'm I-78. We're gonna have to do audio for this interview. CNN on some bullshit, but we're gonna listen to it.
Good evening, we're live from Savannah, Georgia. I'm Dana Bash, and this is a state very much up for grabs. In between a whirlwind series of stops, I sat down with the Democratic candidate for president and her running mate today at Kim's Cafe here in Savannah. Inside, nothing was off the table, and you will see our interview in its entirety. The vice president's first as her party's standard bearer, responding to her critics and answering our questions. Thank you. It's good to see you. This is not where Vice President Harris thought she would be. We're going to Georgia. Yes. 7th trip there this year for me. A surprise nominee for president just months from Election Day. Set in motion after a stunning debate.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Some within your own party are wondering if President Biden should even step aside. What do you say to that?
There was a slow start, but it was a strong finish.
And then an extraordinary decision.
I decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation.
Philadelphia! What usually takes years of planning, coming together in a matter of weeks. After a historic nomination at the convention in Chicago,
On behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination.
Harris Walz ticket is now pushing forward with the shortest presidential campaign in modern history.
What did you hear from voters here?
People are very optimistic.
We joined them on the trail as they visited the battleground of Georgia. Just 68 days from the election.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me and bringing the bus. The bus tour is well underway here in Georgia. You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation. And I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life, to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes.
If you can't handle that simple shit,
there's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one. What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be, and I think many of these things that the vice president's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty by a third. We did it in Minnesota. To have a federal partner in this, unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability.
Yeah.
One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging, what we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years, what we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited, I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that anymore.
You maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America, what we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, excuse me, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Okay. Another issue, big one, is immigration. As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
northern part of Central America.
The northern part of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I, and our administration, worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, and Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock, and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want
to
ask
not only push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
Just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws. And I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed. So that is the reality of it. And 4 years of being vice president, I'll tell you, one of the aspects to your point is traveling the country extensively. I mean, I'm here in Georgia. I think somebody told me 17 times since I've been vice president in Georgia alone. I believe it is important to build consensus, and it is important to find a common place of understanding of where we can actually solve problems.
On that note, you had a lot of Republican speakers at the convention.
Kamala been
Will you
with some
appoint a
humidity
Republican to your
her
cabinet?
roots standing up.
Yes, I would.
Silk press.
Anyone
Yes,
in
I
mind?
would. No one in particular in mind. We got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse. But I would. I think it's really important. I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
That was just the start of our wide-ranging conversation, and we have some never-before-shared details about the phone call that changed everything between President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm just curious, staying on President Biden, when he called you and said he was pulling out of the race, what was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
It was a Sunday, so here I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President. And her running mate. I asked him about some of the controversies that have sprung up since Harris put him on the ticket. Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, the debate everyone's been waiting for. Follow CNN for complete coverage and exclusive pre- and post-debate analysis.
All right, y'all, we just got commercials. Commercials. Listen, y'all. This right here about to be a whole fool. All right, let's see why we at commercial school is all here. We have Blockbuster. How you doing? Hey, Amanda. How are you? Eric, welcome back. Welcome back. MC, appreciate you stopping by. We got Dover. Hey, Dover. And who else is here? That's me. Keith. Hey, Keith. How you doing? Listen, I'm saying about what the woman said, but I have to say, so far, Dana asking better questions than I thought she would.
What did the president know? When did he know it?
Well, she jumped out with, you've been in office 3.5 years. Why you ain't do some of this? I was shocked. I don't know about anybody else. But I was shocked. I made another movie about Ronald Reagan. I have to watch that.
What life could look like with Livgard Hytrulo, a subcutaneous injection that takes about 30 to 90 seconds.
But CNN real tacky. They know they should just went on the broadcast and just on YouTube.
Livgard Hytrulo can improve daily abilities and reduce muscle weakness with a treatment plan that's personalized to you.
But you know what? Sometimes it's better to, you know what I'm saying, hear what somebody's saying without actually looking at them to make sure you can really hear what it is they're saying.
Like trouble breathing and decrease in blood pressure leading to fainting and allergic reactions such as rashes, swelling under the skin, shortness of breath, and
But she is, y'all.
The most common
She up here snatching around, got her eyes closed like she trying to remember what was on the paper.
injection site reactions.
And
It may increase the risk of infusion-related reactions and infection. Tell your doctor if you have a history of infections or symptoms of an infection. Talk to your neurologist about Vyvgart Hytrulo for
But this was
and picture your life in motion.
they said recording on this started about 1:45 this afternoon.
How do you sleep at night? On a mattress from Mattress Firm. So I sleep.
It's the best sale of the year. Get a Sealy King bed for a queen price. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night.
The future. The way you see it is said to depend on where you sit. At X-Chair, we think it also gets down to how you sit, which is why our technology is light years ahead. X-Chair has done it again with our groundbreaking Max technology, providing hours of infinite comfort no matter where in the world you're sitting. By synthesizing the universe's elements, bringing hot, cold, and touch into one extraordinary seating experience, our mission is to help you discover that every workday can happen with body and mind in an out-of-this-world place of comfort and productivity. X-Chair is charting a new course, helping workers everywhere find comfort as their work worlds zoom back and forth. Even though your work reality may continue to shift, we've got our eye on the future of work so you can focus on the present. And from where we sit, the future still feels good.
Maybe like commercial.
The work so you don't have to. Celebrate Labor Day with up to $400 off, including free Elemax. Sale ends September 16th.
All right, here we go.
Welcome back live from Savannah, Georgia, and our exclusive interview with Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. In just 12 days, Harris will meet Donald Trump on a debate stage in Philadelphia. And when I say meet, I mean literally meet. Would you believe they have never talked face to face? The only time they've even been in the same room was when Harris was a senator watching Trump's State of the Union address. Now it's Trump watching Harris on the campaign trail with money and momentum behind her and making her case directly to voters. As voters are getting to know Kamala Harris, they want answers on how she will make their lives better. She heard that here at Sandfly Barbecue in Savannah.
What we're going to do to increase access to capital for small businesses, I'll be rolling out next week. Part of what we're going to be doing in terms of a tax credit.
On the trail, she talks about her experience, years in the courtroom as a district attorney and eventually California's attorney general. She wants to reframe the contest as the prosecutor versus the felon.
I know Donald Trump's type.
The former president is turning to a well-defined playbook of personal attacks.
I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
And in just 12 days, the nominees will meet face-to-face for the first time.
She's not a good debater. She's not a smart person. She doesn't want to debate.
If you got something to say.
What are you running?
I want to ask you
You
about your opponent,
your face
Donald Trump.
Tuesday.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any?
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
Wow.
Let's talk about some foreign policy issues that would be on your plate if you become commander in chief. President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with you. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I'm unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. But let's take a step back. October 7th, 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
In the meantime,
And we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
but no change of policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done. Dana, we have to get a deal done. When you look at the significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region, a deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed since I've been on October 8th to what we must do to work toward a two-state solution where Israel is secure and in equal measure, the Palestinians have security and self-determination and dignity.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming in to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English she taught, my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
I just one other question. Because, again, this is all new.
Yeah.
I mean, this was not, however many days ago, this was not on either of your bingo cards, especially yours. You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving. What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes.
They come out and give an interview.
The one thing I'll tell you is
saying that you didn't
I wish this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And
that's nothing to do with IVF.
I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights. The contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against. The vice president's position on this has been clear. And I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
Up next, the moment that changed everything when Kamala Harris got a phone call from President Biden that he was dropping out of the race.
It was a Sunday. So here, I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces.
Speaking of those baby nieces, the vice president also opens up about a viral picture from the convention that meant so much to so many. And Tim Walz talks about that convention moment with his son that brought many viewers to tears. You were speaking, the camera caught him, so incredibly proud of you, so emotional, saying, "That's my dad."
Yeah, I don't know as a father I could have ever imagined that.
The pros for having.
All right, y'all, we at commercial. Okay, so y'all quit playing. They not answering these questions because again, Trump was like, when you turn black, she ain't answer that. Basically said she wouldn't do anything different in the Gaza, you know what I'm saying, Israel situation. And then here come Walz right behind her. Sir, I've seen at least 5 interviews here on YouTube that people who were in your, you know what I'm saying, battalion have given to major reputable news outlets saying that your ass, you left, no, you found out it was time to deploy and you left before it was time to go, and then all of them went, and then you had nerve to be trying to hang with them after they came back like ain't shit happened. Then she was like, you know what I'm saying, okay, what's up with you in this IVF? Y'all didn't use IVF, you used something else. And then the son, Gus, the one they get ready to talk about or whatever, he got some kind of behavioral problem or whatever, which is where the whole arm yanking situation at the convention came in. So yeah, you had these manufactured kids, but they ain't right. Like y'all, they not answering these questions, y'all. I don't know if y'all hearing what I'm hearing, but y'all ain't answering these questions. We're gonna leave it at, I mean, we're gonna leave it out though, but I'm just saying, like, he up here telling lies about what's going on.
And they could have edited shit out too.
He didn't answer that question. He talking about teaching school. It's the bullshit. Yeah, These are them games. They're not answering these questions.
Well, they figure because it worked for Trump. It worked for Biden.
It's gonna work for them.
They're gonna be able to get away with it too. So they remember 2020, they hid Biden the whole doggone election cycle. They hid him into the very end.
This is true. Holly says it's gotta be. No, you know what, Red Illusion? I don't. Hey Prime, how you doing? I don't. It's not scripted. It's just they ain't saying shit. So since they ain't saying nothing, you know what I'm saying, they gotta keep throwing these commercials in to take up the full amount of time.
Double speak.
Yeah, they ain't saying a damn thing. Trust people, members of his administration still say, yeah, Barron, yeah. Well, I mean, he was still a minor back then. But yeah, shit, Trump kids, you know what I'm saying? They was like, I got business to tend to. I don't really got time for all this goofball shit. Here we go.
Democratic presidential and vice presidential nominees, Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. It's hard to believe it was just 39 days ago President Biden shocked the world via tweet. That's how we found out he was dropping his re-election bid. But before he tweeted the news, Biden called his vice president. And for the first time, we are hearing about that phone call and exactly what Kamala Harris was doing when she answered. But we started this discussion with the moment that set all of this in motion, CNN's presidential debate, and whether President Biden was strong enough to lead this nation again. Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. he cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president. By contrast, the former president has none of that. And so, one, I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And two, I am so proud to be running with Tim Walz.
That wasn't a question, man.
For president of the United States, and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
The last decade?
Of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
Thank you.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago, where there is some suggestion, warped, I believe it to be.
Decade ago, Trump was the president.
The measure of the strength of a leader is
No,
based
Joe
on who you
Boy,
beat down.
Obama was president.
Instead of where I believe most Americans are, which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what's at stake as much as any other detail that we could discuss in this election.
Because we haven't had a chance to talk, I'm just curious, staying on President Biden, when he called you and said he was pulling out of the race, what was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
It was a Sunday, so here I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces, and we had just had pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle. And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
He was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, "I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you."
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest.
That means no.
My first thought was about him, to be honest. I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency. I think history is going to show that in so many ways it was transformative, be it on what we have accomplished around it, finally investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies, in new industries, what we have done to bring our allies back together and have confidence in who we are as America and grow that alliance, what we have done to stand true to our principles, including the one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I think history is going to show not only has Joe Biden led an administration that has achieved those extraordinary successes, but the character of the man is one that he has been in his life and career, including as a president, quite selfless and puts the American people first.
A passionate defense of the man who chose her to be his running mate 4 years ago. 4 years later, Harris made a choice of her own. And with Governor Walz's rise to national prominence, a star was born at the convention, Gus Walz. We'll hear about that moment between father and son, and the woman who could make history in the Oval Office on this iconic photo. Madam Vice President, the photograph that has gone viral. You were speaking,
I didn't know it was viral.
One of your grandnieces that you were just talking about was watching you accept the nomination. You didn't explicitly talk about gender or race in your speech, but it obviously means a lot to a lot of people, and that viral picture really says it. What does it mean to you? The TV moments.
Guarantee you she's gonna talk about being a woman and nothing about being a black woman. Now, most interesting part of this segment that just passed for me when she said we're going to get rid of the last decade. Well, 10 years ago today, Donald Trump was not the president of the United States. We need y'all to realize that, right? He was not the president of the United States. Barack Obama was the president of the United States. And then when Dana pointed that out, she was like, well, wait a minute. In these last 10 years, we got to take off your 3.5 that you've been in here fucking around. And then, you know what I'm saying, the 4 from Trump, so that's 7.5. That still leaves 2.5 years. She's like, well, I'm talking about an era. What era? Each administration was an era. So we're going to wipe you off. We wipe your shit off. We're going to wipe Trump off. And then we're going to wipe off the second Obama term, too. You said 10 years. So, I mean, that's 3 decades, man. I mean, 3 eras, man. We're going to stop playing these games. And all of that, ma'am, all you had to say was I was in there cooking and the phone rang and it was Joe. And he said that they got me, I'm out. All that, you know what I'm saying, about your family and all this kind of old bullshit. We ain't need all that. And why is the about this viral picture? So apparently this is some of Doug people, because I mean you got your own niece that we ain't get to see, and you got a nephew. You know what, Red Illusion? Things did 15 was jacked up for me, 16 was jacked up for me, and the first half of 17 was jacked up for me. So we gotta go from August 2017 to the end of Trump's term was nice for me, because the last 5 years of Barack Obama's presidency, I was either unemployed or I had a temp job. So yeah, and at that point I had 2 degrees. He said Trump dodging bullets while Harris dodging questions. Listen, I'm gonna say this so far, because I don't know how much more we got. I have to say the questions themselves, I'm impressed, because I didn't think she was gonna go there. The answers have been what I expected. I'm just being honest. The questions have been far better than I expected, but them answers is about on par. They doing all this rambling and talking around the question, and she gives you the opportunity to roll back, and you like, I don't even. It's basically like what Joe did at the debate when he had, Joe said 35, 40 seconds left, and he was like, I don't need it. It's this type of situation. It's been that type of situation. Here we go.
Savannah, Georgia, and our CNN exclusive interview with Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, who was supposed to be, if you listened to some experts, a big name, a prominent leader from a swing state, Pennsylvania or Arizona. But it is a little known guy outside of his home state, where Minnesota nice is a source of pride. But behind all of that folksy humor and flannel, Tim Walz is far from just being Mr. Nice Guy when it comes to needling Donald Trump. Governor, you obviously have spoken to voters all over your state for years. Yeah. What are you learning in a place like Georgia?
We're seeing an explosion in small business growth, but one thing is workforce and childcare, because workers have to have childcare.
Campaigning with Tim Walz, finding his role in this historic campaign.
Would you be my running mate and let's get this thing on the road?
I would be honored, Madam Vice President.
After bursting onto the national stage with this word.
These guys are just weird.
Known as a folksy father of 2 from rural America, now a running mate who is not holding back.
listen to the guy. He's talking about Hannibal Lecter and shocking sharks and just whatever crazy thing pops into his mind.
And finding his own rhythm with his new boss.
What do you order? Brisket and greens and mac and cheese. What about you?
I had the brisket and coleslaw on this.
And what about the spice situation, the Tabasco? What's happening with that?
I'm gonna live 3 groups out.
The vice president's growing peppers at her residence, so she's trying to like bring me along on this. You know, Minnesotans.
It's okay.
I'm getting there.
It's all good. You just do you.
I just have to ask you both about two standout moments, aside, of course, from the addresses that you both gave, but standout moments that were perhaps unexpected during the convention. You mentioned one of them, Governor. A moment that you shared, that the world shared with your son, Gus. You were speaking, the camera caught him, so incredibly proud of you, so emotional, saying, "That's my dad."
Yeah, I don't know as a father I could have ever imagined that. I'm grateful for so many reasons to be on this ticket, but that moment, to understand what was really important, to have my son feel a sense of pride in me, that I was trying to do the right thing. And it was, if you try and protect your kids, you know, it brings notoriety and things, but it was just such a visceral, emotional moment that I'm grateful I got to experience it, and I'm so proud of him. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Hope. I'm proud of Gwen. She's a wonderful mother, and these are great kids. And I think the one thing is talking about the era we're in is our politics can be better. It can be different. We can show some of these things, and we can have families involved in this. And I hope that there was I hope people felt that out there, and I hope they hug their kids a little tighter, because you just never know, and life can be kind of hard.
And last question, Madam Vice President, the photograph that has gone viral. You were speaking, one of your grandnieces that you were just talking about was watching you accept the nomination. You didn't explicitly talk about gender or race in your speech, but it obviously means a lot to a lot of people, and that viral picture really says it. What does it mean to you?
You know, I am running because I believe that I am the best person to do this job at this moment. For all Americans, regardless of race and gender. But I did see that photograph, and I was deeply touched by it. And you're right, it's the back of her head, her two little braids, and then I'm in the front of the photograph, obviously speaking. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling in many ways.
Did she talk to you about it afterwards?
Oh, she had a lot to talk to. She had a lot. She listened to everything, and she listens to everything.
Give you your hot takes?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
You have got to be joking.
This was Vice President Harris's first real unscripted setting where voters could see and hear her explain some of her policy positions now and how they differ from before she became vice president and why. And this was the first we heard those details about an extraordinary phone call from a president dropping out of the race and endorsing his vice president, something that will certainly go down in history. CNN has also invited both President Trump and Senator J.D. Vance to sit down with us. We hope to bring that interview to you as well. We have plenty of CNN special coverage ahead. I want to go to my friend and colleague, Abby Phillip, who is standing by with some of the...
All right, y'all, put it back on just a second. Red Illusion, it started at exactly 9 o'clock. It is 9:51, and she just talked for 2 minutes. So that means you got 48 minutes worth of interview. It probably wasn't even that damn long. Like I said, that they had to keep adding. That's including commercials. They had to keep adding all them damn commercials in because they didn't tell her shit. They didn't tell her anything. Nothing. Now, if y'all got something that I missed, please put it in chat and let me know so we can talk about it. Hold on, let me see, because it's David Axelrod. Let me see what he's talking about real quick.
The last time she ran, she was very connected to her word. She seemed strong. She seemed competent. She seemed like someone who could be president of the United States. That was the first.
Because they had to bring them on because this is not even an hour yet.
Opinions here.
We have time for yours. Don't
Yes,
worry.
but I think well, two things then. I think that she handled the issue of her changes or perceived changes in policy pretty well. I mean, I think the idea that her values have been the same and have been consistent was a good bridge there. One thing that I want to note is we were asking the question earlier, how will she handle the president, and will she separate herself from the president? And there might be some political logic to doing that. She's talking about turning the page. Does she want to be a continuation? That's what the Republicans will want to make her out to be. I'll give Scott the opportunity to do it in a second. But as she spoke, I thought it showed a certain character, the way she talked about Joe Biden. She didn't run away from him. She gave him, I think, his due. She understands that there's some political risk to that. That actually was elevating to me in a way that I hadn't expected. So I think on the whole, this was a good night. It wasn't a huge, I don't think she moved the ball that much forward, but she certainly didn't fall back.
The do no harm principle of politicking here.
Yeah, I mean, interviews, they can be combat. They can be a conversation. And what she needed to do was communicate. And so often in the past,
she
comes to an interview in a way prepared to be the interrogator. And people already know she's good at asking sharp, tough questions of people who she feels deserve scrutiny. It's her being under that scrutiny that has been where the stakes have been higher. And I think today it did show that she has the ability to sit down and have that back and forth that Republicans are talking about. Can she really do it? So how many more times? I don't know how much that matters. And I do get a little nervous that in the media we're preoccupied with like, how much access, how many conversations is she going to have in the settings we deem most valuable to voters, when this is a campaign that is actually making a mark in an interesting way, reaching out to people directly.
But Assad, you have also spent a couple of times now interviewing her.
Because you didn't hear
what
nothing.
did you make of how she handled it? I mean, to David's point, a little bit more comfortable now than she has been in the past.
Yeah, I think there's been a consistent story of growth. She's been in more of these settings. I think we saw that somewhat tonight. I also think to the question about how policy positions have changed, they were clearly ready with an answer about how the values have been consistent. For me, and one of the lines that stuck out was, "This is a new. I think people are ready for a new way forward." She said that a couple times. It goes to David's point. I don't think there's a policy separation that they've created with Biden. Obviously, she gave a kind of personal defense of him, but they're also very clearly trying to position her as a change candidate in the same way that Donald Trump is positioning himself as a change candidate. In some ways, it feels as if that's going to be the crux of what this comes down to in November, is whether that is bought by the electorate or not.
And interestingly, there is some polling to suggest that it's a battle right now. It's actually a live ball.
It seems that that's where this might live and die, but I think it's really interesting, because for someone who doesn't want to talk about race and gender, who doesn't want to kind of put that identity forward, it is allowing her to make the case of change.
Say Democrats love to deflect. Only thing people will take from this is she has no support for Palestine. Talking about how the fuck did she ever prosecute anybody? Listen,
tonight, I think they want to present them as a package that is relatable to people.
Remember, they also said Biden wanted to debate immediately after. This is true. Interview was embarrassing. I see why the Democrats have been hiring Kamala all this time. What policy difference does she have with Biden? Okay, so what happened with Illusion is they were asking her questions about, you know what I'm saying, what she planned to do. You know, when she came out with her speech here in North Carolina with her policy and all that good stuff. And so what Dana asked her was, you've been in office for the last 3.5 years. Why haven't you done any of this stuff? And she starts backsliding and all of this kind of nonsense. And what she came up with was, we couldn't do anything because we had to heal the country and get the country to recover from C-19. So then Dana went back to when she was running for president back in 2016. She it was the fracking. That was the first one that got her. She's asking her, you know, saying about her, because in 2016, she was like, immediately, if I'm president, I'm pulling the plug on the fracking. Then she came back in 2019 and said, you know, she's not a fan of fracking. Then she came back in 2020 and was like, I'm still not feeling the fracking. And then a month ago, now it's I wouldn't necessarily ban fracking. So that was the beginning. Then, you know what I'm saying, that rolled into part about her being black. She didn't answer that either. Then that rolled into the Gaza Israel situation. So that was what she was talking about as far as policy difference. And I mean, and like I said, I have to give Dana credit. I do. I did not think she was gonna come at her like that. I didn't. I really didn't. Like I said, the questions they shocked me. But the answers was pretty much what I expected. Yeah, it would be interesting to go over her court transcripts. Would you say she only supports fracking when her numbers are low in the Rust Belt? Listen, okay, and see that's the thing. Pennsylvania, most of them people, that's how they make their money, fracking. So if you're gonna get rid of fracking, what are you putting in its place? Now, see, that would be the question, because that would be the question I would be asking. You want to get rid of fracking because you said that for damn near 10 years. The last 8 years we got you on record talking about you will stop fracking. So if you're gonna stop the fracking, what are you putting in its place? That's gonna be just as, if not more profitable for these people. What you doing? What you say? Eric Trump was right. At least Biden tried to limit the weapons. She's just gonna give him a blank check, pretty much. But you know, Ray, them her people. You know, her husband. You know, he them her people. So yeah, she got to do everything for them. Everything. We're gonna replace fracking with tampon factories. Okay. I don't think that's gonna be as profitable, but I mean, hey, you never know. You never know. Yeah, a mosquito just bit me. Good grief. So yeah, y'all, this is what we have. This is what we got to work with. This is what we got to work with. When I tell you, I don't know why I was expecting it to be 2 hours. Yes, I do know why. That's not true. Because if I had been there asking them questions, it'd have been 2 hours. Because, see, I grew up with men who know how to ask you the same question 6 different ways. And that would have been me. I would just have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and kept it. And she thought them was whole different questions. Nah, bitch. I make sure these answers line up. And I would do Trump the same way. But now, as far as what she said, you know, saying they had reached out to do an interview with Trump and Vance. Both of them did. I think Trump is still, because he was late, doing his town hall in Wisconsin. We're gonna show that tomorrow, because I had a feeling the two of them was gonna overlap, so that's why I didn't want to start one and get messed up with the other. But JD Vance was somewhere in Massachusetts today, and he was like, he had gotten that they had reached out, and him and Trump was working on when they could get that done. So it's coming. Because they don't run from the camera. Them two, and I have to say that. Like I said, I don't know much about JD Vance, but from what I've seen, his ass don't run from no camera. Listen, JD ain't running from that camera. You got the lens. He what? So they working on it. So y'all know when it come, we will have it. Ain't that the truth? He said he was on Theo Von, Dr. Phil, 2 rallies and a town hall all in 1 week. And he got 2 places tomorrow. He's gonna be in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and then he got another town hall with the Moms of Liberty in DC tomorrow. I got y'all on that. We're gonna be there. And I was able to get the Dr. Phil interview in its entirety. We're gonna get into that too. We might just have Trump night tomorrow. And we can get all of them out the way. We can get town hall that's going on right now. We can do Johnstown, that's gonna be in the afternoon. So that won't be first. The DC town hall, the Lacrosse town hall, and then Dr. Phil. Yeah, we might just have Trump night tomorrow. So we can get out of the end. Cause y'all, I started watching a little bit of that Dr. Phil. Whoo, honey. That's all I'm gonna say. Yes, honey. Y'all know Dr. Phil, you be trying to get up there on his little sanctimonial. Shit, Trump wasn't having none of that. None. He wasn't having it. Hold on. So let me write this down. Johnstown's first, and then DC. And then, you know what? Okay, so we're going to Johnstown's first. We're going to watch that live. The DC town hall, and then we're going to go ahead and do the Lacrosse town hall, and then the Dr. Phil interview. Yeah, all right. Trump night. All right, we're gonna do that. Okay, that's how that's gonna work. Let me see what time that Johnstown one start. Wanna say it's 2:00, but let me make sure. Let me see. Let me see.
I was out there earlier. The humidity had went down. I thought it was going to cool down and then ramp right back up.
Right. I'm in here sweating. With a fan. Gotta love it. It is. That is trifling. Hold on. Okay, so it just ended. Okay. About 20 minutes ago. The Lacrosse. Y'all playing. Child, why when you put in Google and you put in Trump rally schedule come right up? It come right up. What you say, though? You can't disagree with it on the fracking. It was bad here in West Texas. 4:30. Okay, so it starts at 4:30. So that means he probably gonna come on around. I'm gonna say 6:30, 7 o'clock. Yeah, I'm gonna say somewhere in there. Okay, so wait a minute. The Bombs of Liberty. Hold on. Okay. Joyful Warriors. Okay. Yep, that's tomorrow. This is 6:30. I don't know how that's gonna work. unless he gonna come unless this Johnstown situation is going to be a press conference. It might be press conference style, so yeah, that ain't gonna take long. All right, so yep, that's what we're gonna do. We got Johnstown, DC, we're gonna show the lacrosse, and Dr. Phil. That's our lineup for tomorrow. What you say? Michigan denied taking RFK off the ballot because the deadline was June, but they took Joe off. Listen. This is what they do. But then y'all want to talk about Trump is a threat to democracy. That's what it was. Yeah, he a threat to democracy, but nothing about what y'all have done has been democratic. But anyway, we're gonna leave that there. All right, y'all. It's a little bit after 10 o'clock. The interview was lackluster at best. We got our schedule together for tomorrow. We got Trump night. So I will leave y'all to enjoy the rest of your evening. I do appreciate each and every one of y'all for coming through, and for your insight and information in the chat. I truly appreciate it. If you haven't, please go ahead and hit the like button. If you've already subscribed, make sure your notifications are on so you don't miss any of tomorrow's lineup. And you guys be safe, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.